Welcome back to another episode of the Day After Podcast.
I'm so out of it right now. I can't even burn the calories to lift up my face muscle. I can't even smile, even though I'm smiling. What's up, guys? Here we are. I had to double check. I almost said Brand Steel. Here we are with our Survivor 46 episode 2 review.
Mhm.
And I gotta say, things are starting to shape out a bit more, and we might have Lulu 2.0 on our hands.
It's looking like that. I need to see is are they on Lulu Beach? Because I feel like they keep trying to put a disaster tribe on that beach.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah, and
mean,
it's pretty bad. I mean, they really did have, I think, like three people who are not good at Survivor on this tribe, and then I think the three best people. I mean, I think two of the best people are like decent, and then there's like I think someone who is good, but it is just looking like. I mean, how is this tribe supposed to do anything? They are just completely on opposite ends of the page all the time. Even though they've done unanimous votes, it never feels like they really are voting together.
well, here's the thing about the unanimous vote thing. It is a strategy in recent Survivor, and I think it makes sense. I don't know where you go above it, but the thing is, it's like making a 5-1 vote or a 4-1 vote or however it shakes up hides your numbers and makes
Mhm.
the thing a bit more ambiguous, even though that's what you know, even though like obviously someone's target went home and whatnot, and there would be people that aren't in line or might be aligned with that person and doesn't want that to happen. You go with the votes because it hides your numbers. Is it a passive way to play the game? Very much so. However,
Mhm.
it's smart in a sense where it's like, hey, uh, you for you give your enemies or your targets plausible deniability that at least you're willing to work with them,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Yeah, it really is good for like one or two people who are kind of all sticking into it because someone's going home that's probably good for someone's game. But the thing is like that is rarely ever actually true for that to be everyone who is voting that way. But if it feels like it doesn't matter where your vote is, then you just kind of have to go along with it. And because I mean, if you go against it, you're going to get targeted next. Like that's just how it goes. Like and it's really good for really just trying to control a group. Like if you wanted to control a group, get as many unanimous votes as possible, because that's going to make a lot of people trust you. But you're also able to kind of maneuver the game in a way that might best benefit you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. But I gotta say, I know we're really focusing on this tribe right now, but I think this tribe is it's gonna come up more and more often until there's no one left.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I feel like just editors are just going to town on this thing, painting almost everyone in a negative light in some way. Like the thing is,
Mhm.
I think they chose a lot of Jess's worst moments are the ones that make her seem like this absent-minded weirdo.
Mhm.
And I mean, like I'm looking at the editor and I'm like, dang, like the part where she's eating ants and stuff like that for that doesn't provide any protein.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
but
just
like
doing
at the
that so
same
she
time,
doesn't have to talk to people. Like
yeah,
that was her reasoning.
it's I don't know. And I feel like another thing that happens is the icing out
Yeah.
because we saw that with Venus a little bit where, Soda and the thing is it's like so many people are afraid of like, oh, seeing them as a duo that, it's not even like socializing and just
Uh,
leaving someone on the outs. Of like, not a part of any conversation. So like, you feel bad for Venus because it's like, well, she's not even allowed to play the game, or not even
uh,
that. She's not allowed to even talk to anyone because I'm pretty sure you can't just straight up just only talk to like camera crew or anyone like that. Like, it's like,
mhm.
especially because it's like a little bit of a betrayal by Soda. It's like, well, fuck, who do I have to talk to now?
Yeah. Well, she's got Randon with the idol now.
Does.
That
Yeah.
is something. Um, I do kind of think that Randon is going to misplay his idol, or Venus is going to sell him out somehow. I feel like she's not going to be wanting to really work with him. They did give us a line about Randon even kind of like saying like, yeah, if that happens, it's my bad or my fault. I just feel like they're kind of trying to set us up that happening, maybe a few votes down the line.
Yeah. I mean, this is also a thing with edit. I don't know. I feel like Venus is, I know like when we were doing our draft of everything,
Hmm.
Venus was a big wild card in the sense of like
Yeah.
we don't know how because like how she's describing herself and whatnot, it was something I was like, will that be kind of tolerated? But also it's not even just like how she's acting, even though like there were some moments where, well, understandably, like, people rolled over her toe and it feels like she's not being listened to on her tribe. So
Uh,
that's like annoying. And so obviously the anger is going to come out and that kind of in the rest of the tribe's thing justifies like, oh yeah, she's this, because they just have this perception of her. I think she's just having a rough time because it's like they identified her as the pretty girl and therefore, oh, everything's handed to her. And it's kind of hard to shake that mentality once people have like a mindset about you,
mhm.
unless they straight up talk to you and get to know the real you. It's hard to shake it. And it's like, how do you shake it if you're just icing her out of any conversation, not listening to her?
Yeah. Yeah, I will say I like Venus. Like, I actually thought she was great this
Yeah.
episode. I feel like she's maybe the first person who has been labeled a Parvati 2.0 who I feel can actually like
Live
do
up
as
to it.
like live up to it. Yeah, because every Parvati 2.0 since Parvati has been like a second, third boot. Like they go out so quick. Um,
Because it's
and
like one of those archetypes that people fret. Sorry, is my ring light dying? It might.
oh no,
Okay.
we're losing some lighting.
Um,
um, but yeah, no,
it's a piece
she's
of shit anyway.
but yeah, she is like in that immediate danger. Like I think if they went to tribal here, Randon didn't have the idol. She is the second boot of the season. Like I think that she would have been going out very quick. Um, but I think
Yeah.
now that she's got that information of Randon having the idol, I think she's gonna cause a lot of chaos in this tribe and really make it not a clear cut vote that I bet the rest of the tribe is thinking it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with this Orange Tribe, first of all, uh, I love how they try, I'm skipping ahead. With
Mhm,
this tribe dynamic, it does definitely feel like Tevin is basically at the center of everything.
mhm.
And they're making aware, which is like, uh-oh, uh, because I like Tevin, but that's also like a huge target to have. Like, once people start, there's like your immediate threats that are around you. And it's like, oh, okay, if we have to go to tribal like right now. But then there's the stop and think threats where it's like, huh, and people start clicking together and you don't really know who those are, the ones until you've gotten a little further and you've had a lot more time to think
Mhm.
about stuff. Uh, and I feel like Tevin's kind of in that position right now.
Uh, yeah, he's definitely become the tribe leader. It's very clear that which is I think it can be a good thing early on, depending on how well you do at actually making every relationship count. But it is also tough that if you do go to a swap or a merge with people who you didn't have that immediate connection as well as maybe the rest of them, then that immediately becomes information that everyone's going to know is that this person is controlling this group of people.
Yeah,
Regardless of even if that ends up wanting to be true at the merge, that's just going to become what people think.
yeah. Perception's reality, and sometimes, kind of like what I talked about earlier, sometimes the first bit of information you get, people latch on to that idea, and so everything they see, whether it contradicts or, um, further confirms, is through that lens.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah. Uh, and also, I gotta say, one thing I loved about this moment, is when they go to immunity. They even gave him they gave the little idol a, became an honorary member of the Orange Tribe, and
Mhm.
Jeff is like, "Oh, that's cute. Good thing I have a pocket knife on me." I kind
Yeah.
of like, the amount of sass that
Yeah,
happened with
I
that.
mean, I think there's a lot of sass and a lot of trash talk among these tribes that we haven't seen in a very long time.
Yeah, I feel like it was, like, one of the things where it was okay to, like, mess with Jelensky a little bit because, like, "Oh, he's gone." It was like, "Oh, yeah, last" or Hunter was like, "Oh, last name, first out." Also, Jelensky, I'm pretty sure rumor because of, like, the people that met at the summit and whatnot were, like probably told the tale of Jelensky and how, like, he just kinda gave up and folded easily. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure he was kinda being perceived by the other tribes as a bit of a joke. So him being gone is like, "Oh, we can do that." And then it kinda led to this, like, moment where, people were starting to, like, throw shade at each other, some passive aggressive comments, and then it started to be a little hostile.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's Q, was going off and saying, like, their six beat our six, but now let's see if their five can beat our five.
yeah,
Which, yeah, I think isn't even like that hostile towards the other tribes. It's just like, let's just see how that
no,
is. And then Soda took that kind of a little more personal and then
a bit of
started kind of,
attack, yeah,
yeah, then she was actually like more trying to attack them about not having food. So
yeah. And I mean, like, that's one of the things I feel like, yeah, they were justified to defend themselves, and
mhm,
that's not even like an offensive thing. It's like, oh yeah, like
yeah.
yeah, they beat us six, but all right, five, us five strong. That's something to hype up your team. That's not a jab at anyone. That's like
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
I
like
will
those
say
little things you say to help justify. It's when you turn an L into a W, or try and be like, oh yeah, this happened, but
yeah. Yeah,
those kind of
I feel
things.
like Soda got a pretty bad edit today. Like, I feel like there's a lot of things that she's done, especially in these challenge, like, situations when they're doing this stuff. Because there's obviously this, but then there is the whole her taking the idol, the from Venus. Like, every time Venus would get it, she was
Yeah.
trying to snatch it, which, not a great look for them to be, like, showcasing that.
No, 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 no. That is a weird thing to do. It's like, granted, they tend to give it to whoever's standing in the center.
Yeah.
But yeah, why is like it's like
I mean, you're
I
gonna
don't
have
mean
your
to
chance to grab it. Like, it's going back to camp with
maybe not,
you.
but yeah. But I
Yeah.
think it's another thing when it's handed over and you get to hold it during that victorious moment.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think honestly it could be something that sort of may not be conscious that she's doing in the moment,
Yeah.
um, or realize how big of a deal it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I don't know. I feel like definitely because we're 2 episodes in, we're starting to see more of an edit of who the main characters are a little bit.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And, both are winner picks. I don't think fall under that category.
No, I think this is the first time that I've actually picked, like, my winner pick who is getting crazy underedited. Like, I think all my winner picks before have been people who get shown at least a decent amount. I think the least visible person that I've done so far is, like, Danny McRae from 41, and he was still pretty visible.
Yeah. Uh, and like, who is it? Mariah on my side. I
Mhm.
think like the only significant thing she got was like her and Liz on the sit out bench, and
Yeah.
Liz being and they're talking about socks and stuff, and it's like a comedy moment that's going on while the challenge is going on. It's like, I like your
Yeah.
socks.
Yeah.
Thanks. I like yours too.
I mean,
And
they were just like the same person, but I really am tired of Liz. Like, please, she got she. I mean, the only thing that we have learned about Liz is that she makes a lot of money
Yes.
And she tells everyone that she makes a lot of money. And that is like her
Yeah.
defining quality.
That's the only part they're really showing of her.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, and I think I don't know, maybe it's like part of the thing of like, okay, maybe making the show too sentimental, which in the edit of like giving everyone a backstory or making everyone relatable in some way is something where they've been afraid to do of recent seasons, but maybe
Mhm.
they're like this time around they're back to like, yeah, let's paint them as weird if they're weird.
Mhm.
Um, you know, or let's paint certain people weird in a certain light. And I wonder if it is a thing that might happen if it is like pre-jury, if those people might be getting because Jelensky not a great edit. Granted, he didn't do great things, but still, Jess, same deal. I'm wondering if they're gonna give like edits to people where oh they seem so inept or they seem off, so that way we don't get too emotionally attached when they get eliminated early.
Uh,
I don't know if that's an actual, but I noticed like it
Potentially.
happened twice in a row with who got eliminated.
Yeah, definitely. Or at least, I mean, I'm down if they just want to give a whole pre-merge group like a dodo edit of just kind of them not like not playing the game very well. I think based off of also what happened at Tribal, I think Banu is I think he can't make it super far in the game anymore. I think
He
I
he
eh,
needs to cope with losing
yeah.
better.
I mean, it doesn't matter to him now. I mean, what we saw in Tribal, like, actually neutered his game. The best I think he can do is earn the merge, and if he manages to win that, he is then the next boot at the merge. Like, that is about as far as Banu will be allowed to go in this game now.
Yeah, it's one of those things where okay, if you seem like an emotional player, you're not thinking logically, and that makes you a wild card, and not like the good kind of wild card. But like an emotional wild card is worse than a strategic
Yeah.
wild card because you can understand, you can reason with strategy. You can't reason with emotions, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, he's going to just spew out everything that has been going on in terms of what the vote was and the plans were. I mean, that's just an absolute recipe for disaster, especially early on. Is really going into that. I did a little bit of that in Vanquish, but that was only because everyone knew what the votes were. It wasn't like everyone, yeah, like literally the Sam vote, for instance, everyone knew it was
Yeah,
going to be Sam. Then when it was the Brandon B, at least it was like even Brandon B and Mike knew that
they were
that
targets.
they were being the targets. So it's like when it's a little more like cut and dry, I think it can make some sense. But even then, like it's you need to at least have one or two votes with your group to let them know that you can do this.
Yeah. We'll save some of that for Joe's interview when we
Yeah.
do get around to that. Because we got some stuff coming up.
Yep.
But yeah, I do feel like it's one of the things too. It's like it's kind of like even though and, you know it's more than just voting someone off. You're also like, what are you telling your other tribe mates with how you play the game?
Yeah.
And you know, I feel like so far what we got from the Purple Tribe, Kenzie. Yeah, they are painting her as this big giant social threat. She seems pretty confident in whatever she does. And I do feel like they're like, yeah, well, that can be totally be an asset. But it's like, you know, sometimes, and I feel like I will say, because of the longer episodes, and I'm starting to see what you were saying
Mhm.
about how they didn't plan for 46 to be an hour and a half, and therefore things seemed a bit stretched out. There were a lot of times where Kenzie, they brought up like, oh, Kenzie, or like divisions within that tribe, be like, oh, this, that
Yeah.
fundamentally didn't have any payoff within that specific episode. That doesn't mean retroactively this was something that was foreshadowing and retroactively this scene
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Like when Q and Tiff were on the, you know, they were in the shack together and they were like, Kenzie's a bit of a threat. And they're like, yeah. We have to get River at some point, but let's use her.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of scenes this episode that I thought were a few minutes longer than I think they should have, or some even I was like, this seems like a deleted scene that we are now being that is now made the main cut because they needed some extra
What, you
time.
didn't like the Metallica versus T Swift
Listen, I think it
challenge?
was funny, but that went on like way too long. Like, and I
It
know it's like, wow, look at how high they got, but like, please, we did not need that much about that. And
I enjoyed it.
we got every person pretty much from that tribe had a confessional about that moment.
You know what's weird? Because we talked about, because I will say that pacing this episode did seem a little off.
Mhm.
Did this episode have to be 2 hours as opposed to their hour 30 that they wanted?
I think it would have been better hour 30.
I feel like some people are saying that. I just kind of take it as is, and I didn't mind it necessarily. But, it is one of those things where, you know, I'll admit, even though I thought it was funny and whatnot, it did stretch on for a little bit.
Mhm.
But then again, I'm pretty sure they were trying to, you know, justify the time and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I also hate
but
when they do commercial breaks in the challenge, like, that's something that they should just not do. I was definitely a little, frustrated that we went to a commercial break right there.
I was like, oh shit. Uh, yeah, I would say that this challenge was a difficult challenge to do
Yeah,
because it's like you're already exhausted from the obstacle course, and now you're supposed to like hold these things up in place because like there's no other support other than you guys to get this thing, and the only relief you get is when it's complete.
yeah.
So it was a hard one for to do.
Yeah, it's interesting though because that ending of the challenge we saw in the previous season in 45 and that was the immune and it was people doing it individually where we see
Yeah,
Drew winning immunity. Um so it's interesting that they then had kind of bigger blocks to then do it for the tribe portion of
yeah,
this, which was definitely interesting.
yeah.
Also, what it would everyone was building it from 2 different sides and then trying to meet in the middle. Can't you just build one side all the way through? I mean, I just feel like that would be way simpler.
Maybe it might have been something. I'm pretty sure they might have even tried that at one point, but I think it might be a thing of like weight distribution as well. That could have been it. Or also like I think it could have been a height thing as too, because it's like
Uh,
height versus because the thing is it's like you have to be so tall, and I think at some points they even learn, oh, this person is too short to actually get the thing in there
mhm,
because it has to be wedged in there. So if you hold it at the apex of the arch, it's going to be tough to like maintain. That person basically has to stay there until the rest of the puzzle gets solved.
uh,
And having your arms like this, and especially if like it's keeping it in place, I feel like the thing is, it's also like how heavy were these blocks and how long do they have to hold it up in place, as
yeah,
well as you know, making sure they can actually reach it because I believe we saw Jess trying to like, Jess was the one trying to do it because maybe she couldn't hold out the blocks, but maybe she could place it, but she wasn't really able to place it right
mhm,
because she wasn't tall enough. So I think there's a few factors that make it because I had that thought too. It's like, oh, maybe that is the right way.
mhm.
Or maybe they tried that a few times, like, no, 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 this is way harder.
Yeah, it didn't seem like they ever even thought about doing that, the thing.
Yeah.
It always was like 2 people would immediately go to the opposite ends, and then people would start building it in between. Um, so yeah, definitely interesting. Also, I mean, if Jelensky was in the game, they didn't vote him out, he would have been perfect for this challenge. Like this, and I know that he,
No, he was like, these blocks are too heavy. Jeff, I quit.
yeah. Let's just go to tribal council. Wow, the legend Jelensky's gonna vote someone out here. uh,
I mean, and I think that's one thing you realize is some people naturally going to be better at suited for different challenges up ahead
uh,
than others. And there's only so much you can, rely on height. Sometimes you don't
yeah.
know. something will be more beneficial if a person's taller, smaller, have more nimble fingers, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's I think a lot of people also now in some of these survivor seasons are there's like a clear weakling on their tribe, and there some of them are not targeting that weakling first but choosing to do them like seconds. um we kind of saw this season also with like Brandon. I know that yet again another kind of quitter kind of does
Yeah,
throw a wrench in there, but they still were not going to vote Brandon off there. He was going to be the next target regardless. um
yeah.
so that was still like what was their plan. um and I just feel like that is not good. Like you're basically like trying to say, let me just go to tribal again, because you're going to have less people. That person who is not good at challenges is going to be more important to the challenge because there's less people. And
Yeah.
if they're already struggling when don't when they had at least some kind of food recently, the more days it goes in, they're just going to be worse at the challenges.
New School Survivor or the new era is tricky for a couple reasons. One, because they take away the flint and ability to make fire and cook stuff properly, and they don't even start out with any food, no rice or anything.
Yep.
It's something where it can just, because we've seen this, granted, I'm not saying that, for this tribe is just doomed or whatnot, but we've seen it on a few seasons. We've seen it on 41 where four members from one tribe just got eliminated.
Hmm.
We've seen let's see, obviously the Lulu Losers is very iconic. And like, we also in 44 we saw a little bit of becoming of one team as well, barring one switch, but like still, like that one, there seems to be one where if the momentum of losing happens, then you don't have flint, you don't have food, morale gets lower, and then it just
Yeah.
is like a snowball thing. Now, granted, it hasn't happened on every season. Like, in 42, it was the first time where people with the original tribes all went evenly into the Earn the Merge, or have left the pre-merge phase,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call it, because like, that stage of the game where it's like, oh, we're no longer doing individual tribe, or not three different tribes.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So it is a tough thing about the new era. And especially because they're prepping up the things like, oh, they're really starving on this drive. They're not really getting anything, just like little coconuts here and there, and they keep losing. And then like, they're like, oh, it is demoralizing. And it's hard to build morale from that, because like sometimes to get out of the funk of losing, you need a win.
Yeah.
What's the win that they have right now?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
They trimmed the fat, yeah, but I'm pretty sure they took some muscle with that fat.
yeah, it's definitely tough for them. I mean, if you go like a week straight of not having a single win, like it seems, like we only see a little bit on our screens for Survivor. That is a long time for someone to be in a game where they are just losing and getting their ass kicked over and over and over again. Um,
Yeah.
so it can definitely be tough, because then now you're in your head thinking like, I gotta do this, but also what if I can't? Like what if we're just not able to do it? Like you might even be already thinking about what you're doing at tribal while doing the challenge, which might be good to get you through that tribal, but it might also be causing you to go to that tribal.
I mean, it's tough to say. Like I've been on a losing it wasn't a losing tribe, just a losing streak before. When I played in org, my very first org. And I will say it's something where it's like, you know, I feel no matter what, and obviously there's exceptions to the rule. And I know that Debbie from the Brain Trust, from Co Wrong, from Game Changers would disagree with me. It's like, oh, go more often. It's good practice for other ones. Each time you go to tribal council, it's playing Russian roulette,
Mhm.
because there are so many names being thrown out. And granted, there are some people in better positions and whatnot, but each time you go, you are risking it. Granted, there are some people with a larger percent of going home, most likely going home than smaller, but like sometimes that
Mm.
smaller percent. And like even this tribe knew like, hey, if Jess feels scared and plays her shot in the dark, that like 16% chance, less than 16% chance, what is it, like 12.5?
No, I think it
It's
is.
definitely less than 20.
Yeah, I think it's like
Um,
16.63 or something like that. Six, yeah.
so we'll say, for argument's sake, 16. You can correct us in
Yeah.
the comments, people. We're not mathematicians.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not David
Someone
Boche
failed.
who told us what that breakdown is.
Yeah. So it's like, by the off chance that she does, and whether she stuck with Banu or I felt like she transitioned to Banu, I feel like she probably was going to go after Kenzie that night, and
Yeah.
then just based off of like how Banu was acting, was like, I'm gonna switch my vote because maybe everyone is thinking that right now. Uh, so by the off chance the shot in the dark does pay off, it takes someone out. Going to tribal, it's like, oh, if you go and you have like an easy target, all right, cool. However, it's best to avoid it because if Tom fuckery plays a factor into it, you don't
Mhm.
want to be eliminated because of said Tom fuckery.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was definitely it was like an easy vote. Like I think everyone kind of went into the episode thinking if this tribe win just goes, but they did make it a little interesting. Like there was definitely
Yeah,
things happening that was like, oh, is something weird about to happen? I but before we saw everything what happened in tribal council, I 100% believe Q should have targeted Kenzie. I really think that he should have worked with Banu and Jess to take out Kenzie because he would have gotten the two people on the bottom who would have then been dead set loyal on him for the game. Um, Now, I think that changed. Now, I would change that then after seeing Tribal Council and seeing what Banu does, because now I do not want
yeah.
to work with Banu. But at least I think it would have been the right move when they were trying to figure out and him kind of like figuring out what's the best move.
I think this plays a factor in what you were saying earlier about why they don't automatically go for the weak one. I think because of this new era, how it kind of
Yeah.
functions, and why sometimes we will see steamrolling too. It's like, all right, who's kind of like the biggest threat? Who's like the number? Even if someone in your alliance is a little weaker, it's like sometimes when the numbers are small, you're not thinking. I obviously challenge wins and stuff are important pre-merge because more numbers getting there, more likely chance of you making it to merge slash winning the game.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's like, because it's small, and it's easier to pick off people when it's like 10 or something, or 10 or 9 people on one tribe. It's a lot trickier when it's at 6 and you're starting to see people play a bit more because like it's a smaller tribe, therefore people are playing a they're playing a they're playing a more aggressive game because like, all right, well, there's nowhere to hide and we have to make moves now
Mhm.
or we get eliminated.
Yeah.
So it's tricky. It's very tricky, and I think that's why we see a lot of threats go out early now. It's because it's smaller, and we're so many seasons in. It's become, I don't want to say Survivor's become too self-aware, but people are like you thinking about the very end.
Mhm.
My counter argument to that, you have to make it to the end in order to think about the end. You have
Yeah.
to finish this phase. You have to think about the middle. Yeah, you have to think about the here and now before you can think about even the middle, because we can all think about the end till we're blue in the face.
Yeah.
However, there's so much data you do not know going up to that point that trying to plan everything that's going to happen going up to that point is a moot point.
Yeah. Well, I think you can think about the ends, but also you got to be thinking about the middle. I think that is 100%
Yeah,
accurate. But I think that it would have been beneficial for Q to have soldiers who are going to basically go to bat for him. Whereas I do think Kenzie is going to be a player who is going to be that social blood butterfly at the merge, who is
yeah,
going to immediately get in with whatever group, and you don't know if you're going to be in that group with Kenzie. I think it's not a guaranteed. Whereas if he did take her out, he knows that he's going to be in the group with Jess and Banu.
Fair. That's a tricky thing. I feel like the deciding factor for Q is like they don't want to have to go again. And then it's like, well, do I
Yeah.
get rid of Tiff that I know who has an idol right now? Or do I, it's like I feel like if they lose again, because it's not like he's teaming up with people who are on the bottom that are at, you know, challenge beast or like
Uh-huh.
good at the challenges. Famously, or like the thing is, Jess wasn't performing well in the challenge and seems to like, going on this downward spiral of like, being food deprived, not being great. Even like I think another thing that hurt her chances of Q flipping was not finding the idol, the
Hmm.
fake idol that they tried to make.
Yeah.
Um, it's another thing too where it's like, oh, she can't even do that when it's obvious, or she's not listening to everyone else. It's like it's something where it's like, do I really want to be aligned with this person if they can't do this?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I feel like in different circumstances, probably, but I feel like just how this is working right now with this tribe, they need to be able to survive tribal council because,
Yeah.
like, if they did go on Kenzie, then they have to go again. Then that puts Q in, I feel like, a worse position.
Yeah, I just think Q needs to step up more in these challenges. And I know it's like kind of unfair because, but like he's the guy who should be doing a lot of it. But I feel like he wasn't even really super vocal about what people need to be doing in that thing until near the end when it was already kind of too late. Yeah, like if you look over at Hunter, I think in a lot of aspects you would assume Q should be better than Hunter at some of the, at a lot of these challenges, like the physicality of it. And Hunter is like lapping him, like he is just significantly doing better. He is a lot better at getting people to like know what they're supposed to be doing and creating the plans. Like he was the one who was saying like, okay, everyone get the things from the obstacles so that way we can just go straight through. um like he's a lot more able to like lead a group for these challenges, which Q's just kind of not able to do that. So I do wonder if he's like, because he has like kind of that football background. I
Yeah,
wonder if he was more not like a leader in the locker room, but more as like someone would tell him what to do and he would just do it.
very possible.
Yeah.
Um, not everyone that goes back is not everyone that
Yeah.
goes on Survivor just because we see, sports team and whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not everyone is the captain coming out here.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I don't know. I haven't dug that deep into his thing, but you know, I think it's another thing too, where sometimes stepping up in the challenges, I don't think he's worried about too big of a target on his back, to be honest.
Mhm.
But I think that's another thing to factor is like if you're too vocal, maybe that's something, or maybe he's I don't know, maybe another thing, the Purple Tribe is just in that mindset where, oh, shit is bad, and it's hard
Mhm.
to like break out of it. And maybe he's like, all right, I'm kind of focused on everything else or making sure that I'm doing well, and everything is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, like another thing that they kind of, it was weird with how they were picking up the chests because everyone was like, it was a group effort. The entire group would pick up the chest and they would all move and do it. Yanu was using two people. Two people were doing the chest, and then everyone else was just watching and seeing it happen.
which is like, because it's like, yo, it's not like it's three people, be on each side.
Yeah.
Um,
Like
uh,
those are heavy things. Like you're going to go way quicker if everyone's helping out instead of just like watching and then seeing what happens. So yeah, definitely a lot of things that is just wrong with how they're handling a lot of these challenges. And Bonu did say, I think a lot of it is the planning. Like they just, I don't think they're really having a plan. I think they're just like saying, okay, let's just do it, and then seeing what happens.
yeah. Oh, man, this track. I think we'll get a better sense next time around. because I think maybe it can be salvageable. Like, it's just if they're able to talk to Banu and be like, "Hey, we just need you to get your emotions in check," because he
Yeah.
was being a little, I don't want to say scary during the challenge, but like you know, he was getting kind of angry at everything,
Yeah.
and that kind of like energy is like, yo, not even from like a morale standpoint. It was like, hey, this affects everyone. If you're angry and losing your shit,
Yeah.
uh, you know,
Yeah.
it
And he started the whispering at tribal also, just by the way, totally is like saying, please target me because I'm gonna be doing this if I think I'm on the chopping block ever.
yes. Oh, Banu.
Yeah, I like
Well,
Bonu. I think he's great, but also I think he's not a great survivor player.
at least right now, I always like to give someone a benefit of the doubt. It's like,
uh,
hey, you know, he has time to learn.
yeah.
Like, I think
I do
next
think this
episode is a
tribe does.
brand new episode.
Yeah, I actually do think that they will not go next tribal. I mean, maybe they will, but I think I think that they're going to be safe. I feel like Bonu is like the guaranteed next person to go on this tribe if they wins, and I feel like he's at least gotten a good enough edit where I feel like he's going to be around for another few episodes.
I don't know. We all thought that with like, people like Sabaya, or
Maya,
like, all the Ryan Johnson kind of like twist, or the Ned Art Starks we had from last season, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, I mean
So
it's possible. I just feel like I feel like some other tribe is destined to go pretty soon here. I feel like I don't even know if it's necessarily the green tribe. I feel like they're the kind of hidden tribe right now. Like we get a little bit of them, but it
it's
feels
mostly,
like what?
yeah, on the Green Tribe, yeah, it's mostly Charlie, Ben, and Mariah, or
Yeah.
Maria, my bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and even then it's like we check in a little bit, see how they're doing, and then we go for somewhere else to see where like it feels like the more important nuggets are. Um like yeah, Purple and the Nami tribe are just significantly more visible. And
Yeah.
obviously Purple makes sense. They're going right now, so they're going to be more visible. But we're really seeing a lot of Nami, which is potentially a good thing for some of the players because we're checking in and figuring out what their strategy is before we've even seen them go once. So
Yeah, well, I think one possible thing, or maybe they're just not showing it, but everything kind of seems, other than, oh, which way will the alliance go between Maria and Charlie? Everything has kind of been kumbaya on the Green Tribe. Like there hasn't been too much drama.
mhm,
Whereas, obviously there's a lot of drama going on both of the other tribes. Whether it's like, can we get rid like the Purple Tribe playing very aggressively? Well, they kind of have to because they keep losing, and so they constantly have to think about that. And the Orange Tribe, it's like, there's a lot of drama with the whole thing with Venus. And it's like, oh, do we ice her out? Do we not talk to her? And stuff like that. And then Randon, the idol, and all that. It's like there's a lot going on there when it comes to that thing. So, like, obviously, the Green Tribe, because everything is kind of chill, other than go this way, we might go that way. So, I see why they haven't been getting too much be at it because they're not showing any drama.
mhm. Yeah, definitely, definitely. So yeah, so was there anything else this episode that we
Um, go back to Ben. We did see his backstory and whatnot.
mhm,
Um, I think the fact that he is someone where we get to see a lot of his like backstory and we get to like hear him. I definitely think he's starting to build more winner. I think more winner equity
mhm.
this episode, where we're starting to see his backstory. We're starting to see like a lovable, fun side of him as well. I think yeah. Uh, I'd say like that's kind of like the other thing to add. We did see his backstory. We saw him look like Eddie Munson from Stranger Things. He did it
Uh-huh.
before it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say, yeah, I think on this green tribe, he feels like the one most likely to make a deep run right now. Um,
I
and
wouldn't count
that's
out Charlie or Maria either.
yeah, I think they can too, but I feel like they're going to become threats. Like I think and the fact that they're more in that kind of control position, I think they're more likely to be the threats. Whereas Ben is, I think, someone who no one's going to find a super threatening and easily could just end up slinking his way to final tribal.
Yeah, potential. It depends on how the tribe views him.
Mhm.
If they're like, "Oh, this dude is giving a lot of Cody vibes," they might be like, "We need to get rid of that," because
Uh-huh.
you know,
Yeah, well, the
um,
thing is with, like, Cody is that he also had I mean, he was a salesman, and I think he even because it's kinda even though he wasn't telling people that, he had a lot of that more kinda like, the charm, and it felt like he was a little more deceitful, like, it could
yeah,
like, you could tell that he was playing the game. I feel like Ben is going to not feel like he's playing the game super much, and he's gonna feel like
uh,
he's just having a fun time out there, which he is. I mean, he literally said he's having the most fun right now doing it.
yeah,
So I think a lot of people are just going to basically go with that and think, okay, we don't really need to target him right now. He's just going to be a vote for us that we can use down the line, and let's try to take out some of these other people who are going to be the bigger threats.
yeah. I can see that.
Mhm.
All right. So MVP, LVP, or do we go with confessional count?
Let's do MVP, LVP.
All right, MVP. MVP is tough.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone like stands out to me for like there was no one that did anything that was like super super great. I might give it to Randon in the case like oh he has an idol,
Hmm.
but even then as you brought up that's something where he told Venus and that could backfire on him.
Yeah.
So MVP is not as clear to me. What about you?
Yeah, I was going to give it to Randon, and that's even with kind of the knowledge of that it might blow up, but also if it works out, it's maybe one of the few ways that I think he gets to the merge because I do think that, say, if this Nami tribe went to two tribal councils pre-merge, I think he's the second person to go, maybe even the first, depending on like where it is in the eliminations.
Yeah, we'll see. Um, LVP.
I think this is
I feel like
very obvious.
it's either Bono or Jess.
I think it has to be Bonu. I think Jess had like she was going to be the target because of last episode. So just purely off of this episode, Bonu
Yeah,
has neutered his chances of working with those three. Those three are
I
going to
get it. Yeah,
throw him away immediately. Whereas before, if he just played the course, even though he would be the next person to go on that tribe regardless, at least if they made it to a swap or a merge, those people would be willing to work with him, but not anymore.
yeah, I see what you mean. I'll probably say Bono too.
Yeah.
All right, confessionals.
Okay, here we go. Let me pull it up here. Okay. So let's see. Jess had nine confessionals as she left the game tonight. Um,
All right,
and then the most confessionals is Tiffany with 19. Then we got Kenzie with 15, Charlie with 14. Then we got Banu with 12. Venus has 10 now. And then we got a few people here with 9. It looks like Q's got 9, Randon has 9, and Tevin has 9. Um, and
yeah.
then we got a couple here with 7. Ben has 7, and Soda has 7. And then a couple here with 6. We got Maria with 6 and Tim with 6. And then we got Mariah with 4 confessionals. And then at the very bottom, we have Hunter with 3 and Liz with 3.
Oh,
it's
confessional game.
crazy that Hunter only has 3 confessionals. I find that so
Maybe,
wild.
yeah. I don't know. I think because not only us, but like some other people too, they were like really hyping him up pre-game.
Uh,
So it's weird that he has been hit. Like, yeah, it's
yeah.
weird.
Yeah, I feel like everyone I think he was like the consensus like best pick for fantasy draft like first because he just like checks a lot of the boxes that a winner would have or at least someone who goes pretty deep into the game. He still could do that stuff, but the fact that he's in a total of 4 hours of Survivor. I guess 3 if you don't count the commercials. He has only been given 3 confessionals.
Not good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
All right. Yeah, and on the next time Survivor, we heard there might be some trouble for Hunter actually.
yeah. Yeah. It's
But who
possible, which
knows?
but also it's probably means he's safe because it's
Yeah, they like hyping stuff up. Uh I mean they were yelling at Jess at the challenge in the last one too, so
yeah.
you never know.
Yeah. Yeah, potentially. I even then though, I kind of felt like that was more of a bad look for Banu because Banu was the one who we saw really doing the Jess, and that ended up being true, but just not going to be the boot for this for what happened there. But
At
yeah,
least for now.
yeah,
But we don't know. Uh I don't know. It's tough to say. Like I always am like, oh, let's wait and see how someone might progress. But it's tough for a very emotional person to just turn that off. So
uh
we'll see. We'll see.
yeah, definitely, definitely. But yeah, I believe that that does it here. I think we've covered everything for episode 2 of Survivor 46. So
All right.
yeah,
Yeah.
any closing thoughts or are we good?
We're good. We won't be doing the review live or anything next week because Joe is filming and well, I'm filming too, but like Joe is a lot more hands-on. He's one of the peeps running, riding, doing all this stuff. So
Mhm.
yeah, and I will be in one of the videos. Wink, wink. Yeah, so that's gonna be exciting. And then yeah, so other than that, so we're gonna have our All Stars 21 next week.
Mhm.
Look out for that. Um, guys, watch Survivor Vanquish because we're both on it. And the finale for Survivor Vanquish 10 Candyland, Omer's Candyland is about to end. Catch up if you can. I know it's a lot of content, but
Yeah.
come on, y'all. You watch us. Go
Yeah.
support us.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a pretty fun season. You know, even though I went
Yeah,
out, it's been a lot of fun. I
it
still
is.
think I went out in the best tribal council of the season, in my opinion. So I'll take
Agreed.
it. I'll take
Agreed.
it.
But yeah,
Uh,
that's the thing about us day after boys. We know how to go down swinging,
yeah, we
and we
both
don't
had
we
the
know how
best
to have
tribal councils.
yeah,
So
yeah.
uh
But anyway, we'll see you guys next time, and yeah, keep watching. Have fun.
okay.
Peace.
Adios.